Why did President Trump's meeting with Putin end with no ceasefire? And what does Putin want?
Well, a couple things. First of all,
so that is MAGA Fox News host Maria Bartiromo humiliating Donald Trump by grilling Secretary of State Marco Rubio about the abject failure that was the Trump-Putin-Alaska summit. And she actually does it again at another part in the interview that we'll talk about. But before we do, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we're going to play the rest of this clip, but for context, please remember that Donald Trump met Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Even though Trump says we're meeting in Russia, Alaska is part of the United States, which is famously not Russia. Trump's a moron. He actually had uniformed military, literally, uniformed U.S. troops literally on their knees, rolling out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin to walk on. Trump applauded Putin when he approached. Putin was so dominant during that entire affair that even Fox News reporters like Jackie Heinrich and Brett Baer admitted that Trump got steamrolled and that Trump seemed visibly humiliated by comparison, that Putin got the upper hand. It was a total abject disaster. And Trump said going into the summit that he would be very disappointed. He would consider it a failure if he did not procure a ceasefire. He didn't procure a ceasefire. And so that is why MAGA Fox News host, again, not just Fox News. This isn't Jessica Tarlov. It's Maria Bartiromo. She loves Donald Trump. She's a MAGA Fox News host. Even she's like, seemed to be a failure. What the hell happened?
If you recall, there's no way you can have a meeting like that. And we never said there was going to be a deal coming out of the meeting because the Ukrainians are not there. This is a war between two countries. It's not America. It's Ukraine and Russia. We met with the Russian side. We've spoken repeatedly with the Ukrainian side. We'll see them again tomorrow in person along with our allies in Europe. So I do think some progress was made in that talk in terms of narrowing down the issues set. And now these are hard issues that remain. You know, the conversation about where the territorial lines are going to be, questions about long-term security guarantees and who Ukraine can have military alliances with, things like that. These are difficult things, but I do believe we made progress in narrowing down the issue set, but there's a lot of work that remains. There's a reason why this war has been going on for 3.5 years. It's a war that never would have happened had President Trump been president, but he inherited it, and now he's trying to do everything he can to bring about peace. He's made peace a priority of his administration, as you've seen with all the peace deals we've been able to achieve throughout.
So we discussed this in a previous video, but Trump and the Trump administration are, to put it charitably, wildly overstating the extent to which they have created an environment of peace in the world and the extent to which that they have been directly involved in peace negotiations. Now, Rubio is trying to flee. He's retreating to this idea that this war would have never happened if Trump had been in charge, except, again, that's belied by the fact of a few things. Number one, since Trump has been back in office, Russian aggression against Ukraine has escalated dramatically. In other words, Putin feels more comfortable being more ruthless, more aggressive with Ukraine under Trump than under Biden. So that belies the notion that Putin is somehow so intimidated by Trump that he would have never invaded Ukraine in the first place. Number two, the fact that Putin wanted to invade Ukraine in the first place and also wanted Donald Trump to win the election indicates that Trump would not have been an impediment to Russia invading Ukraine unless Putin felt that he would have gotten even bigger prizes, bigger concessions from Trump without having to invade Ukraine. But there's no evidence whatsoever that Trump is a particularly strong opponent of Putin or that Putin is somehow intimidated by Trump. All the evidence sits squarely to the contrary. So I mentioned, she's grilling pretty bad. I mean, she's humiliating Trump by putting that question to Rubio in this respect. Like, what the hell happened to the ceasefire peace deal? She does it again in a way which makes Rubio visibly uncomfortable by saying that Fox News has confirmed something that Marco Rubio does not like.
A European diplomat has confirmed to Fox that President Trump supports Putin's proposal for Russia to take full control of Luhansk and Donetsk, all of Donbass. Do you support this move?
No, first of all, I don't know who told you that, but they don't know what they're talking about. I mean, the president has said that in terms of territories and stuff, these are things that Zelensky's going to have to decide on. These are things that the Ukrainian side is going to have to agree to. That's all the president is trying to do here is narrow down the open issues, narrow them down, and then see if we can play some role in bringing that closer together.
So Maria Bartiromo is confirming something that Rubio says. They just don't know what they're talking about. I mean, why would Trump opine on this? Because this is what Trump does. He constantly tries to speak on behalf of Ukraine. He constantly tries to put Ukraine in a box in order to appeal to Putin. This idea that it would be inconceivable or out of character for Trump to basically say, hey, listen, I definitely support Ukraine handing over vast swaths of territory to you in order to effect a ceasefire or peace deal of some kind. That would be classic Trump. The fact that Zelensky would have to agree to it is beside the point. That's part of the issue, is that, Trump actually did something similar. You may recall something similar in the negotiation of the Doha Agreement, which was the agreement that Trump struck with the Taliban directly in order to effectuate the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, Trump had 4 years to get us out of Afghanistan. He campaigned that he would do it. He was like, Bush didn't do it. Obama didn't do it. I'll do it. I'll get us out of Afghanistan. We got to end these forever wars. And he never did it. But what he did do was, in his last year in office, he met with the Taliban directly. Terrorist organization. Didn't include the Afghan government. Totally cut them out. Totally separated them from the negotiations. Made a direct deal with the Taliban. And it was a terrible deal. And Trump didn't enforce the terms of the deal. It was incredibly generous, incredibly beneficial to the Taliban. It undermined the Afghan government and was perhaps the single biggest contributing factor to the Afghan government's collapse in the wake of the Taliban insurgency. But my point is, Trump bypassing our nominal allies and going straight to our adversaries in order to negotiate a deal which is favorable to those adversaries, that's classic Trump. That's textbook Trump, and that's why so many people are concerned about what Trump is trying to do here. So we're going to play actually 2 more clips, but the next one is also from the Maria Bartiromo interview, but the 4th one is not, but it does deal with Rubio. So here's one more clip from the Fox News interview with Marco Rubio.
Can you give us any clarity on a timeline in terms of the U.S.'s thinking? I mean, obviously there's no ceasefire in place right now. What are the repercussions? Are we just going to watch the murders continue?
No, look, at some point a decision has to be made if a peace deal is possible or not. If at some point it becomes clear that both sides are so far apart and so dug in that we're just not near a peace deal, then the president will have a decision to make about how much more time do we invest in it and what actions does he take then. But I want everyone to understand, if this morning the president woke up and said, I'm putting these terrible, strong sanctions on Russia, that's fine. It may make people feel good for a couple hours. But here's what you're basically saying. You're saying talks are over. For the foreseeable future, for the next year or year and a half, there's no more talks. Because there's no one else in the world that can talk to him. Okay? Putin's not going to meet with Macron. He's not going to meet with the UK, with all due respect to these leaders. None of these leaders are going to be able to bring him to the table and talk to them. There's only one leader in the world that has any chance of bringing these two sides together. If there is a chance, there's only one leader in the world that can do it, and that's President Trump.
Except he hasn't done it. He hasn't brought them to the table. And Trump was humiliated by Putin in Alaska. And here, again, I'm not discounting the idea. And I want to be clear, I don't have a crystal ball. And when it comes to modern politics and Donald Trump, I make no predictions. I really don't. I think I was confident that Hillary Clinton was going to just beat his ass in the 2016 election. And she did win more votes than he did. But then, James Comey came out of nowhere and was like, yeah, we're actually reopening a federal investigation into Hillary Clinton just days before the election. And, we saw what happened as a consequence. So I gave up political predictions. I am totally willing to accept that it is possible that the Trump administration will either happen upon some sort of ceasefire or peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, or maybe even they'll somehow be able to pull it off. I see no evidence that they will, but I'm not dismissing it. The point is this. Trump has failed thus far. Trump promised, he assured the American people when he was soliciting votes that he was just so goddamn good at negotiating that he would have this wrapped up along with Israel's war against Hamas also wrapped up in 24 hours. He would get this done in 24 hours. He's failed on both counts, right? Because it turns out geopolitics and these decades old feuds and grudges between these two factions, both in the Middle East and then in Eastern Europe, are actually really, really hard to deal with. And Trump has overestimated and overstated his ability, but he campaigned on it to solicit votes. He failed by not procuring a peace deal in 24 hours. He has failed for 208 days since. And I think Maria Bartiromo's question is perfectly fair. Okay, well then, what the hell is going on? You guys said you had this under control. Are we just going to see more killing? And all Rubio did was just discount the idea that Trump imposing sanctions would be productive at all. But it was Trump who threatened the sanctions in the first place. Trump finally started to posture that he would impose severe consequences on Putin. Now Rubio's saying, well, no, imposing severe consequences on Putin's a bad idea. Well, then why did Trump say that he would do it in the first place? You see how it's totally incoherent. It's totally incoherent. And it suggests that the Trump administration is not comfortable with the idea of actually trying to put overt direct pressure on Russia, either because Trump is sympathetic to Putin or because he hates Zelensky. I don't know. But the bottom line is he just contradicted Trump in real time, and he didn't have a good question or a good answer to Maria Bartiromo's pretty good question on this. So we're going to play one last clip. It's of a separate interview with Rubio from today, in which he was also humiliated by a different host.
But there remain some big areas of disagreement. So we're still a long ways off. I mean, we're not at the precipice of a peace agreement. We're not at the edge of one. But I do think progress was made towards one. But again...
But Secretary Rubio, we don't know what any of that progress is. And the president went into that meeting...
You're not going to.
Okay. The president went into that meeting saying he wanted a ceasefire and there would be consequences if they didn't agree on a ceasefire in that meeting, and they didn't agree to a ceasefire. So where are the consequences?
That's not the aim of this meeting. Look, first of all, you're not going to reach
the president
a ceasefire
said that
or
was
even
the
a peace
aim.
agreement. Yeah, but you're not going to reach a ceasefire or a peace agreement in a meeting in which...
There you go. It's just, again, Trump says one thing, does the opposite, promises one thing, fails to deliver. It's a tale as old as time. And that's why, again, liberals, progressives, Democratic candidates, all of us in and out of office have to make the case to the American people writ large that Trump should be politically punished for saying one thing or promising one thing and failing spectacularly to deliver. Because right now, Rubio is confident that he could just bullshit his way out of Trump's lies and hypocrisies and, total inconsistencies, and that the American people will swallow it. We have to draw that connection. This is an abject failure of Donald Trump, and hopefully it will result in a brutal Republican defeat in the 2026 midterms. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.